Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the best steps to set up your Google Ads search campaign. Google have had a lot of different changes in the past 6 to 12 months in terms of their structures, their layouts, where things are located and everything like that. So this will be the most up-to-date tutorial to set up a search campaign if you're wanting to get one done for yourself, for your business, or for clients if you do it for others. You understand all the new best practices and what approaches to take in the step-by-step tutorial. So sit back and enjoy, get your pen and paper out or get your notes ready to start taking and enjoy the tutorial. So let me show you exactly how to set up your first Google Ads search campaign and the best practices for it. So you're going to first go to the Google Ads homepage, which is the screen that I'm currently on right now. Now there's a couple ways you can set up a new campaign. You can either go to this button here, or you can go to create in the top left corner there. Then you just hit campaign. Now this is where you choose your overall objective that you want to have for the campaign. So you can either go, if you're like an e-commerce store, you can go to sales. If you want to generate leads through form submissions or phone calls, you can click on leads. And there's a couple other ones, but I guess those two are probably the ones that majority will be focusing on. You can also just create a campaign without a goals guidance, and that way, I guess you don't get the recommendations that Google will send you throughout the process. So for this particular process, we're just going to go leads. Now here's where you select the campaign type. So for this particular video, we're going to get into search campaigns. I will go into other type of campaigns in other videos, but for now, let's just hit search. Now in this section, you don't really have to select anything just yet. You can do this after the campaign creation, depending on if you've already got forms set up and you'd like to import them from your website into the Google Analytics tracking or anything like that. So we're going to leave this particular section for now. And you can just name the campaign. So I'm just going to call this one test campaign. You can turn off enhanced conversions. We don't actually need to have that on just yet. That's a lot more of an advanced method, which we're not going to go into this particular video. So you can turn that off. Now you just hit continue and start new. So this is what you want to focus on. Now, majority of the time, if you're a new campaign or you've recently just started off in Google Ads, you're going to want to focus on clicks. The reason why I say this is because you want to generate as much traffic as possible first, to see where the majority of your clicks and traffic is coming from, what particular locations, what keywords are generating the most traffic and clicks and things like that. If you go straight into, for example, conversions, it's you're not going to get the right amount of traffic coming to your campaign and interacting with your ads as much, especially early on. So we want to just start off by leaving what you want to focus on as clicks. Don't have to set a maximum cost per click. Leave that blank. You can just leave it as focusing on clicks and then leaving this unchecked. We'll just go next. Now, this is probably one of the most common debates, if you want to say, that people give you different recommendations on. So people say to leave this checked about including Google search partners on the display network. I personally turn them off always. I just don't feel the need to have to include Google search partners or display networks. I just feel like you can track your metrics a little bit better knowing that you're only focusing on the search campaign in Google and not on anything else, because you can't actually track the search partners and where the leads are coming from there. So I personally prefer to uncheck that. Same thing with the Google Display Network. I don't really want to come up on Display Network. We can create a display campaign if we want to kind of have a bit more of a visual ad. So then here, this is where you select your location. So majority of the time, you're going to want to either target your country that you're in, or more specifically, you can get into cities or states, or particular postcodes as well, depending on what type of business you are. If you're an e-commerce store and you do ship, throughout your whole country, you can leave it as the country. I wouldn't usually recommend going all countries and territories unless you have a very, very big budget. So I would recommend starting off with either just the whole country that you're in as a location targeted, or entering another location and going specifically into your city or state if you want to further specify what particular location. So if you're a service-based business, you don't want to obviously target the whole country unless you've got other locations. But if you are one service-based business located in one specific area, you want to obviously enter another location, and this is where you can put in postcodes and things like that. So for now, I'm just going to select Australia. Leave this as English. You don't have to put anything here unless you want to actually advertise in another language. Majority of you will probably just have be able to leave that one. Now, audience segments. This is a part that a lot of people neglect. Audience segments can be a very beneficial part of a search campaign and of any campaign. And this is where essentially you can select a lot of different audiences to have as an observation. So it's not necessarily targeting only these audiences, it's more so just saying, hey, I want to monitor these audiences and these specific categories to see if a certain group of people that fit a certain demographic are interacting with your ads and converting more than the other ones. So that way you can start to adjust your bids later down the track to those particular audiences. Very, very important step. A lot of people tend to skip. So you can really just select, 10, 15, 20 different audiences because, like I said, it's not going to actually affect the performance of your campaign. It's purely just to see what type of demographics and audiences are interacting with your ads the most if you've selected them. So, for example, this is picked up that my particular company is a marketing services company, so it's given some recommendations already. So, just for this particular example, we're going to select them. So, let's just go business services. Like I said, select as many as you can that can be relevant to your actual service or business. It doesn't have to be exactly what you do, it can be something similar because that can still be a related demographic and audience to what you actually offer and what you sell. So for just this video, I'm just going to select the first few recommendations. Now you can see here they've separated them into affinity and in market. And like I said, you want to make sure that observation is selected, not targeting. Targeting means you only want to advertise your search ad to these particular groups. We don't want to do that. We want to leave it as observation, which essentially means I want to put these audiences in the campaign for you to just look at and observe the metrics that are going to come in to see if they convert better than ones that are not in this audience. So leave it as observation. Now, if we go down to more settings, you can see here start and end dates. I usually don't put end dates because you can do that manually yourself later. So put obviously the start date you'd like to proceed with, but don't put an end date. You can manually end a campaign if you wish to do so later down the track. Leave it as not filled out for now. And then ad schedule. This is where you can put in essentially when you want your ads to run. If you're a service-based business and you're only Monday to Friday, you can select Monday to Fridays and put in your times. So let's say, for example, you want to run from 7 a.m. Monday to Friday till let's say 5 p.m. So you can put that particular schedule in. If you're an e-commerce store and you don't really care about what time your ads run, you can leave it as all days, or you can even do 7 days a week, but through a particular time period. So you can do 7 days a week between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. or anything like that. So have a look at what ad schedule will be best suited for your business. For this example, I'm just going to put Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And in more settings, you can have a look here, ad rotation. We want to leave that as preferred best performing ads. So this will tell Google to keep pushing the best performing ads that people are interacting with and that are getting the most conversions. So leave that as is. You don't want to put any manual adjustments to that, not at the moment. That's a bit more advanced if you want to go that way. But majority of the time, prefer best performing ads is the best structure to go for. Apart from that, you can leave the rest as they are, and then we're going to hit next. Now, this is where you start to put in the keywords that you want to actually bid for. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can either enter, your particular website URL, and Google automatically scan for keywords and kind of spit out a list that it feels is the most relevant to what information and content is on your website. Now, I usually don't use this way. I like to do my own keyword research based on what particular messaging and what we want to target and what is actually being sold as the service or as the business if it's an e-commerce store. So I personally like to do my own keyword research, but you can put in your URL website here and then get the recommendations that Google gives you. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. You can just put in some keywords here. Now, let's just use my business as an example. So we provide Google Ads services for businesses. So let's say, just for an example, what we're going to do is we're going to bid on the word Google Ads marketing services, and then putting these commas, putting these quotation marks means that it's going to be a phrase match, which is essentially narrowing down a little bit the type of keyword you want. You want to bid on this particular keyword with a phrase match that is essentially telling Google, I only want when people search for this exact keyword or something that has a very similar meaning to it. So that's what putting those quotation marks mean. If you put exact match, which will be this little bracket here, and I'll put the same thing, Google Ads Marketing Services, this is essentially telling Google, I want to bid for the keyword Google Ads Marketing Service as an exact match, which means anyone who searches this as well as something with the exact same meaning. So they could search up, for example, Google Ads advertising services, and your keyword would probably come up because it technically means the same thing as Google Ads Marketing Services, but it's a little bit more narrow than what a phrase match means. I'll put a link in the description to of an article that Google has on their website to break down exactly the difference between broad match, phrase match, and exact match. So that way you can have a bit more of a read into that. I usually don't use broad match, which is essentially just putting in the keyword without any quotation marks or brackets, like I've just done there. That is, for me, way too broad and usually doesn't work for most businesses unless you've got a very, very high budget and you just want to see what you can, you know, catch and convert for. But it can get very broad and sometimes even bid for search terms that are not relevant to what you're actually wanting to bid for or what you're selling. So I usually never do broad match keywords for myself or for my clients. So in this particular example, I'm going to leave it as phrase and exact match. Now, a lot of people ask, do you need to put the same keyword as a phrase and an exact match? And there's many different types of opinions on this. The old school method is yes, you need to do both phrase and exact match and to try and catch as many of the different search terms that are related to that particular keyword as possible. However, with all the new changes that Google have done, you actually don't really need to put the keyword into both different match types. So, for example, if I'm already bidding on Google Ads marketing services, which as a phrase match, which is this top one here, I wouldn't actually need to put it as an exact match as well. So the reason why I say this is think about it as kind of like a big fish net. Broad match is the biggest net that's trying to catch everything in its path, and it could be ones that are relevant to what you're searching for or what you're bidding on, and ones that are not. Phrase match is a smaller net and catching less things that are a bit more specific, and then exact match is again another smaller net catching a little bit more focused keywords than what phrase would have. So if we're using that example, a phrase match would be getting the keywords in phrase as well as exact because it's a bigger net. So if you're targeting a keyword in a phrase match form, you don't need to put an exact match for it as well. A lot of people they double up and put it as both, but you actually don't need to do that. So in this example, I'm just going to put a few different phrase match terms that will be relevant to my business, just to give you an example. All right, so for this example, I've just put in 4 keywords that I'm going to pretend to bid on. So you can see I've put them all in phrase match for now. Now you can make adjustments to this later. Don't feel like whatever keywords you put now, that's it. You have to stick to it throughout the rest of the campaigns. How long you have it running for. It is what you're just starting off with. So a lot of the times I'll start off with let's say 6 or 7 keywords as phrase matches. Then I'll do search term audits throughout the campaign's first month, 2 month, 3 months, and then see if there's a search term that I find is very popular that I want to start bidding for. I can always adjust and edit that later. So don't feel like whatever you're putting now is final. You can always edit, change, and you can even remove some. So just put what you think would be best when you do your keyword research. And you can do a lot of different ways to have your keyword research done. I'll get into that in another video. But let's just say for this example, I've just put in these 4 keywords there. Now, this is, I guess, where the fun part is. This is where you do the ad copy. So this is where you want to put in your first. You want to start off by putting in your final URL, which you want to send your the traffic to when they click on this particular ad. Now this is done on this is for the first ad group. Later we can branch out into more ad groups once you've actually done the first one. But we're going to do just the one for now, and we're going to put in. So I'm just putting my business website. All right, so I've just put in my website there. Now, display path. What is this exactly? So let me tell you. So display path is it's what you actually want to show as a forward slash after that on the ad. It's not going to actually change the URL of your website or your landing page. It's purely just visual purposes. A lot of people tend to put the display path to whatever relevant ad group theme they're kind of focusing towards. So let's say, for example, my website highmerchantmarketing.com, and let's say this ad group is focusing on Google Ads services. So I will just put in a display path, Google Ads services. So what will happen there is, if you can see on this example there, you can see that it will come up as highmerchantmarketing.com / Google Ads, and sometimes it will have / services or / Google Ads and then / services. So that's just to give you an example of what that would look like. It's not going to necessarily change the URL of your website or landing page. It's just purely for display purposes to be kind of going consistently with your ad group and the theme of what you're trying to advertise. Now, with the headlines, it's going to say you have 15 headlines that you can put in to the actual search ad. You don't have to put all 15 in. I usually like to put a minimum of 10. If you have enough to take up the 15, which you can usually do pretty easily, then by all means, utilize all 15. The more information you give Google Ads to test through its automated ad testing, with the more headlines you give it, the more chance of finding the right combination that will convert the most. So like I said, aim for a minimum of 10 headlines. You can put 15 if you want. I wouldn't necessarily go less than 10, because that's probably too little of an amount to give Google enough information to test with and to find the best type of combinations for your ad. So it also gives you some suggestions here based on what your keywords were. So obviously you can see here Google Ads advertising, PPC advertising, and Google Ads agency. So it's already given you some examples. So you can even use them. So if I just copy that in and just put it straight in here. Now, I always best practice put every single the first letter of every word in caps. So make sure it's a title case headline, not a sentence case. So, for example, there you can see Google Ads agency. Then you can also see examples will start to show up here as you put in more headlines. So I'll just put in some more for the sake of the video, so you can get an understanding of how the preview will look. All right, so I've got my minimum of 10 headlines, as you can see here. 10 out of 15 are done. I've just put in, very quick headlines. It's not the most creative type, but this is just to give you an example there. So 10 headlines are done, and obviously you can see it will give you a few more to put in, up to 15 if you want to. Now, you got to make sure that they're all under 30 or maximum of 30 characters, no more than that, or else it will not let you actually push that headline out. So make sure, and you can see the count there, it'll tell you how much you are under 30 characters. So now descriptions, it will put you can put a maximum of 4 descriptions. At least you have to have 2. So I'm just going to put quick descriptions in here to give you an understanding, and then we can go through the preview that it will show us. Okay, so I've just put in 2 descriptions here. So this is just for the example. Now what we can do is we can actually see the preview that you can see on the right hand side here. So you can see it's gonna rotate the all the headlines that I've given it. So you can see, do Google Ads the right way, the most up to date knowledge. Then you can see it's gonna rotate that again, and it'll say the Google Ads agency, grow your business with us. It's gonna have the descriptions here as well. So we offer focus on effective Google Ads for your business, etc., etc. So you can see what it's gonna look like. Now this is how it's gonna look like on mobile preview. If I click on this area here, it's gonna show you what it will look like in desktop preview. So same thing, it's going to rotate the previews using the headlines and descriptions you've given it. but I'll just show you how it would look like on the desktop. As you can see, it's a lot more of a landscape view as opposed to the mobile view. So you can have a look at that and you can rotate them to see what it would look like. Now, pinning headlines. So this is something that I guess not a lot of people will utilize. So what you can do is you can actually pin certain headlines you've given Google in certain locations, so it will always come up in that location. Now, when you give Google 10 to 15 headlines, it's only going to use a maximum of 3 headlines and 2 descriptions at one time. So every time your ad shows up, you're only going to see 3 headlines, sometimes even only two, and 2 descriptions that you can go along with it, which you can see in the preview. You can see it only shows, here it's showing 3 headlines and the 2 descriptions I've given it. So if you have a particular headline that you want to make sure is always seen, even if others are rotating in between it, that one will always stay. You can actually pin it. So let's say I want to pin the second one, high quality paid advertising. You can see here when I select that little pin icon, it's going to say show only in position 1 or position 2 or position 3. Now, Google's going to tell you it recommends for you to keep it unpinned because it wants them to have full control of the rotation of the ads. However, you can definitely pin headlines even if this ad strength at the top is going to decrease. Don't worry too much about ad strength. It's not going to actually affect the performance of your ad campaigns. A lot of people think they have to get good or an excellent. You don't. You can get an average. Sometimes, even to be honest, I've gotten poor ad strength with some of my clients, and it's performed so well and gotten such a high conversion. This is just Google's recommendations. So let's say I really want to pin this in position 1. So I've pinned that now. Now you can see that ad strength has changed, which is, again, don't worry too much about it. But you can see in the ad rotation, high quality paid advertising is now going to stay in that position and it's going to rotate everything else but that. So you can see that stayed again, but it's gone. The second headline is do Google Ads the right way and the descriptions at the bottom. So if you really have a headline that you want to make sure people are always seeing and it's not going to get rotated where sometimes it's showing and sometimes it's not, pin a headline in position 1, 2, or 3, depending on where you want it shown. So usually this is really good when you do ad copy split testing. So I highly recommend you do 2 ads running at a time per ad group. So for example, I'll usually have one where there's nothing pinned. I've just given it all the headlines and descriptions and let Google work out its best combination with the algorithm. And then I've put as a second option, the second ad copy split test is pinning 1 or 2 headlines to see if that converts better than the other ones. So you can play around with that with your split testing. And you can also do the same for description. So you can pin 1 description in position 1 or 2, depending. So you can have a look at if that will be best practice for your business as well. You can put site link extensions as well, which is essentially they will come up at the bottom, which will send users to another link on your website. So, for example, you can site link a contact us page, or more info page, or a special offer page. You can put that as a site link. So if I hit the plus there, you can actually put the site link text, a description, and then you can put the URL of it. So if you're a website that has a lot of different pages and you would like to add it as a site link, you can put it here. If I just put test site link, find out more info about us. Click here to learn more. You can see there, it now comes up as a little link. So that's what a site link extension is, where you can put other links to other pages on your website that you feel like customers may be interested in when they see your ad. But it's not the main focus of your ad, but it's just a little extension at the bottom to further push or promote another page, or a contact us or an info page for them to find out more information. Now, you can also add call out extensions. Now, what a call out is essentially just adding another quick short sentence, whether it's about, hurry while stocks last, or any little sentence you want to add in there as a to add on to the description. That's what a call out text is. So let's say, for example, I want to put a quick call out and say something like only 5 spots left. So that will now come up here as an extension to the description, which you can see in this part here at the bottom. That's what a call out is. Essentially, it's just another sentence, a very short one with a few words to further emphasize a specific message that you want to add in that description. So once you're happy with your ad copy, you've got your headlines, you've got your descriptions, you can simply just hit done. And then that's kind of your first ad there. And you can see the keywords that you're bidding for, and then just hit next. Now, once you've hit next, after the ad copy part, it will take you to what you want to set your budget as. Now, Google will give you a recommendation. Now, this is where you put your budget as what you want to have as your daily budget, not monthly. A lot of people think that you set a monthly budget and that's it. But with Google Ads, you actually set a daily budget. So if you have a set aside amount that you want to spend per month on Google Ads, just divide it by 30 or 31 days, depending. And then you can just put that as your daily budget. So I'm just going to say make sure you set custom budget. So select that one here because you probably don't want to go with any of the recommendations that they've set. And let's just say for argument's sake, I want to go $30 a day. They will show you here an average of how many clicks you can get and the cost and the average CPC. Again, don't really take this prediction too seriously. Your stats and metrics will vary a lot. So usually Google, I've noticed, will give you less predicted clicks or conversions of what you actually get. So just put whatever your budget is. When you're starting off, you have to test these things to in the first few weeks, first month or so, to see if that budget is sufficient enough to get the certain goal you're aiming for. So just put in the daily budget you feel is best to start off with, and then move on to the next step, which will be the final review. So I'll put my budget. I'm gonna go to next. Okay, so it's gonna now show you a review of everything we've just set in this search campaign. So I'll show you the name you've set, what type of campaign. So we've done search. We want to have our objective as getting leads, starting off with maximize clicks, focusing on only the Google Search Network, the country we want to focus on, the ad schedule, the audiences we've selected. So you can see it's going through everything that we have just gone through in this video, in this tutorial. So, and it's showing you've got 4 keywords, 1 ad. You can add the second ad to split test after you've published the campaign. You can go in and just add the second ad in the actual ad group level. So once you're happy, you can just go publish campaign. I'm not going to do that because this is just a test one. You hit publish campaign and then you just wait for Google's approval, which will usually take a few hours, depending. Sometimes it could be a bit longer, sometimes it's a little bit shorter. And then your search campaign will be live. So that is how you set up your Google Ads search campaign. Hopefully that was really helpful for you all. Just get familiar with the process, get familiar with the interface, where things are located, how you do the structure in general, like what I walked you through in the tutorial, and just get familiar with it all. In upcoming videos, I'll go more in depth on certain strategies and to get a bit more detailed on them and to why you should do them, what are the best processes to take with optimization once you have launched the campaign and how to continuously improve that, so you can further understand why it's important for your campaign and how it can continuously improve the performance for you. So if you found this video useful, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can then check out more videos that are released like this one and other types as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.